Hey, this is Andy with Two Rivers Counterfeits Waterfowl Decoys. Today we're going to keep our tutorial series going. Something a little different today. We're going to be doing full body, specklebelly, or white-fronted geese. One of my favorite birds to hunt. Absolutely love the character and all the noises that they make. Love chasing after specks, like eating them too. For full body specks, you're going to use 3 different shades of brown, and one is going to be a complete overspray. So it's very similar to what we did with black ducks. We're going to use a modified version of my hen brown color. It's going to contain more brown than usual, and no almond at all. So we're going to do about 5 parts brown to 3 parts yellow, so that it'll come out that nice base specklebelly tan color. The second overspray is going to, because specks tend to be a little bit darker, especially over fields. I like seeing darker specks. You're going to take the dark brown color. It's going to be a straight 50-50 blend. 50% brown, 50% black. And finally, for your main body feathers on the back and on the wings, you're going to take that dark brown and you're going to make it darker still. You're going to use about 75% to 25%, or roughly 7 to 3 or 7 to 4 parts black to brown. So it's going to be a very, very dark brown. The other color you're going to need for the chest itself, the bars, is a 3 to 2 mix of black to blue. So that XO blue that we used on our wood duck backs, you can use that again here, because the barring on the chest, there it went, the barring on the chest is actually extremely dark blue. So you want to have that ready. And then for your highlights, your tail, around your face, if you haven't done it already, you're going to need white. Okay, hopefully I've got this set so that you guys can see the bird well. Might have to go back and look it over and see if I do in fact have it just how I want it. But we're going to start by using our lightest brown color. And I guess it should be said, just like most of my videos, I've gone ahead and flocked this bird already. I'm not going to get into that. The flocking part's pretty easy. But I will go over what colors that I used for this particular go of specklebellies. And I used that hen brown color. Rust-Oleum also has a color called sand that you can use underneath of goose gray. I did that on the back. Then on the chest I used a mixture that I call Drake gray, which is about, it's a little bit lighter than a 50-50 blend of white and smoke gray. It's got just a touch more white in it. And again, underneath a goose gray. So I did that on the chest because their chests are really kind of that brownish gray color. And this is a really good mix. For the bills, I used Pyrrole Orange, which is a Golden's product. And then I don't flock the white patch right here. I leave that plain, and I actually paint that with an exterior grade latex. And I use a brush to actually paint that part. So, all right, so first thing we're going to do on our specs is we're going to get our brown, extra brown, hen brown color. And we are going to overspray everything on the top of this bird, from the head all the way to the tail, this color. So we're just going to start laying on the head. You don't have to do it super heavy, but you want a pretty good base. I usually leave a little patch around the cheek just to suggest a little bit of the roundness of the head. More in frame here, yep. Come right on out the edge. Now on specs, what you'll see is there is a very clear white patch right that swings along here. That's just the tips of those upper side pocket feathers, almost like on a Drake wood duck. So the tips are white, but the feathers themselves are actually brown. So what I like to do is I'll just come right along and I'll just kind of hook some edge feathers right there on the side. We'll come back later with the white. We'll delineate that, and we'll tip them with white as we do on most of the bird. Same thing on this side with those upper side pocket feathers. There's your hen brown color. Next, we're going to go to the next darkest brown, and we're not going to do the entire bird, but we're going to do most of it. We're going to do the major areas. This is where we're going to start drawing our feathers in. We're going to hit the top of the head, some of the low lights. So I'll go ahead and I'll start back here at the tail. The tip of the end of the main flight feathers, the primary flight feathers, are very, very dark brown. So we're actually going to overspray these again with that darker color. We'll go ahead and the first patch. So these feathers rolling back, just kind of gonna hit them in the middle and just kind of fan it out. The tips are white, which we'll come back in and paint later, but and as I go, I want to make this decoy just a little bit darker. Just kind of lightly brush over it with this darker color, just to give it a little bit more darkness. Make it stand out in the field a little bit better. Trace those side pocket feathers down a little bit. Notice I'm not in my normal spot today that I usually am when I'm painting decoys, and that's just because of the way this thing is angled. I kind of wanted y'all to be able to see it a little bit better, so I figured I'd try something new. If it doesn't come out, I've got a whole nother dozen of these things to paint, so I'll just have to reshoot the video, which isn't a big deal. I got all day. So starting right about here, about mid-back, I'm going to start the bigger groups that you'll see all around and down the back and the shoulders and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and put in two like right about here. And all I'm doing is I want to keep that hard edge because that's where that white's going to be. But I just want to feather it forward until it hits the next feather. Now a lot of decoys have got fairly deep carvings. This happens to be a green headgear, and it does not have very deep feather relief. So I've kind of got to do this freehand style, which doesn't really bother me. I am kind of used to it, but it's a little bit trickier. So if you find some decoys that you want to try, I recommend finding some that actually have some fairly deep carvings. Some of the old Carry Lights, some of the Higdons have those pretty deep carvings, especially in the floaters. You can You can find those pretty easy. And some of the old, if you're taking Canada decoys, some of the old Canada full bodies and shells and such have really good feather relief too. So those are really good to practice on. But meanwhile, I've just got to kind of use my imagination. So I'm just going to start coming down the back, and I'm just going to make little rows. Got one there, and I'm going to just take and kind of imagine where the cape of the neck would be. I'm just kind of going to feather that so I can have a guideline to follow. And of course you can use chalk too. Chalk always works well. That's going to be the point of the cape. I'm just going to lay in some groups. From there, I can feather these forward a little bit. So about like so. Give it a little overspray, make the whole thing a little bit darker. While we're on that subject, we're going to lightly overspray the top of the head, just because the top of the head is always just a little bit darker. And the neck right in there, behind the eye. And I'm also going to spray around the eye with this color. Again, this is our medium dark brown. Then I'm also going to line right here along the face going back with this color. And I'm going to let it overspray onto the face a little bit too. All right, so continuing the same thing on this side, we're gonna do these big flight feathers. Fill in some of the gaps between them. So we're gonna keep right on going up this side here. Just kind of try and match what we did on the other side. All right, so this is what we're looking like so far. Got our first base sprayed. I'm gonna go back, forgot to do that on that side. Got ahead of myself. Since I've got this color out, there's one other little tip that I'll give you. A lot of the times, these birds have, really dirty chests. Naturally, everybody thinks about, that dark black barring, but the actual side feathers themselves, there's a lot of kind of suggestion of 3D effects that you can do just by cutting in a couple little swirls. You really make that side look like it's full of three-dimensional feathers just by putting in a few shadows. You don't want to make it look camouflaged by any means, but add in just a little bit of depth. All right. Tricky part's over. So now we're going to take our super dark brown, and all we're going to do is we're going to come on the back half of each one of these feathers, and we're just going to lay in a little bit of a dark kind of highlight or low light, just to give it that break, and that'll give it that 3D effect too. It'll further darken the body of our decoy a little bit. I'll just do that on every single feather. Kind of kiss them. It's a real gentle little dark brown kiss. Now on your feathers that are more pointed as we get closer to the wingtips, I kind of just do the outsides of them. Do the outside, maybe a little streak down by the vein. And always remember, my rule with geese, and usually ducks in general, is it's better to be a little bit on the darker side than on the lighter side. Because all that means is your bird's going to stand out a little bit more if it's a little bit darker. We'll do the same thing down here with this color. Just kind of tip those pockets a little bit, and then when we put the white on, it'll really stand out. And these wingtips are the primary flight feathers back here. The very, very wingtip flight feathers are going to get all the business with this color. They're super, super dark brown. And we'll come and we'll put just a tiny little bit right up here by the face. Right on that line. No exact guidelines. Specks vary in color so much that it's good to have them look a little bit different from individual to individual. And the white patch up a little bit. Okay, so next what we're going to do is every single feather on this bird, with the exception of these big long flight feathers down here, are going to get lined with this white. So you're just going to highlight each individual feather with the white, starting at the back going all the way to the front. So right along these feathers, just trace right along that edge. when you get up into the back and the cape and the shoulders, you want to keep that line as tight to that dark brown bar as you possibly can. Just to highlight that line right there. Since we're right here, I'm going to go ahead and show you that white highlight that's right there where the side pocket and the wings meet. It's a very clear white line. You can see it on specs, even from a long distance. You see it pretty well. We're going to hook that white down right behind those feathers too, almost like on a wood duck. That line is very noticeable on specklebellies. Very robust, so make sure you give it the attention it needs. Get down here and finish up these feathers. That's what your back looks like right there. And that's pretty much it. Only thing left to do, we're going to clean that up a bit. We'll do the eyes with all black later on. But now we want to put in the actual barring on the belly, which is this. This is the blue color. So I'm going to hold the bird here. Hopefully you guys can see it okay. But all I'm going to do, and there's no specific pattern. The older the bird is, the more they have on there. Juveniles don't have any at all, but I'm just going to lay on just kind of some big kind of smiles, some big arches here. You can write your initials or your name or draw a funny picture on the bottom. The geese The geese can't see this anyway. This is kind of just for the hunters, but there's your white front. Pretty quick, doesn't take long, not much to them. They make them look pretty good, so. Definitely an improvement, whole lot of fun to hunt. Only other thing you want to do is you want to come down here with your white on your tail, whiten that up, whiten the rump up. I usually just actually do that with a brush and a latex exterior paint that I use on my non-flock birds to paint. There he is. Nice and easy.